So about a year ago, I made a review video on my Asus Zephyrus G16. A gaming laptop with a ton of potential. And honestly, in that video, I did downplay a lot of the features that it had. The main reason was how light it was. This laptop right here weighs around 2 kilograms, which is really not much, despite the fact that this thing is running on a 4050 and Intel Core i7. So after using it for a year, what is the performance like? Well, I can tell you now, this thing does exactly what you need it to do. I've played pretty much any game that I wanted to play, even games that recently dropped on high settings. I think Ultra would be a bit of a stretch because it's just a 4050 and it is a laptop, so the heating is a little bit of a problem, but you can still really play great games on good quality settings. And what makes the situation even better is the display, because it's a 1440p 240Hz monitor. Gaming on this thing is unbelievable. I can't stress it enough. The panel is stunning, the colors are great, the dynamic range, I can go on and on about it. Battery life is actually another thing I downplayed. Of course, when you're gaming on it, it's going to draw the battery away completely. But if you're doing basic tasks on it, the battery is so good. I've used it for days, with small tasks and just getting a few things done here and there without the battery just dying on me. And that's one thing I recommend every person with a gaming laptop does once in a while. Don't just leave your laptop plugged in. Take it around, use the battery till the pretty much 20% mark or 15% mark and then charge it. It's really good for your battery in the long run. So because it's such an expensive premium device, you're not going to find any problems in build quality. Not that I've had, and I've owned this thing for about a year now and I've taken it everywhere. As you'll notice, the display, it's a little wobbly, but it's actually quite sturdy for how thin it is. I'll show you around the laptop. There are no bumps, cracks, bad scratches on it. It just still looks really good, and if I wipe this thing down and give it a good clean, it looks like I literally just bought it. One of my big appreciatives of this laptop actually, and I said this in a previous video, is its trackpad. It's a nice sized trackpad. And when you're going out, you don't have space to use a mouse or anything like that, and you need something that's smooth, responsive. This thing does just that, which is expected from a premium laptop, of course. Now, I'm not gonna just tell you all the great things like I was sponsored to make this video, because I was not sponsored to make this video. Fan noise. This is the really difficult thing about it. It literally sounds like an old PlayStation 4 when you're running in high intensive games. Here's just a few sound tests, so you know what you're getting yourself into when buying something like this. I'm gonna try and make it as accurate and sort of loud as it is as possible. Look, it's not a deal breaker. You're pretty much gonna find this issue in most high-end gaming laptops, unless you find some way to externally water cool your device, which would make it way less portable. My next issue with it is its price. Now, of course, it has an RTX 4050 in it, 16 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, and an Intel Core i7. I think it's 13th gen. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm too lazy to go and look right now. So it's got some pretty expensive components inside of it. So you're going to expect a bigger price tag, especially with the display also being 1440p. Also 240 Hz, which is insane for a laptop. The price ranges depending on the configuration that you choose. You're looking at about $1,600 to $2,200, which is, yeah, it's pricey. For my South Africans out there, I paid about 35,000 Rand for mine with the 4050 in it. So yeah, not a cheap device at all, to be quite honest with you. But it's worth it if you're in the industry of video editing, designing, stuff that really needs high intensive work, or if you really want to be a professional gamer. I mean, 240 Hz is, who doesn't want 240 Hz? For the average consumer, I can understand it's just super expensive and you'd probably want to go for something a little less pricey. But if you're watching this video, you either just want to learn about it or you're actually interested in buying it, so yeah. And if you're a fan of Asus Strix Editions with all the RGB, this is sort of a nice alternative because it's not as pricey, it's nice and minimalistic, it's a good solid option. The Zephyrus G16 is still a beast and maybe a bit better than I initially gave it credit for.